Okay, we are back for another edition of Touchdown, coming at you live from Schwadorf, Austria. As always, I'm your host, Joel Turpin, and with me today is my co-host, David Asselin.
Hello.
We're going to start off talking about some really big, important games from last week.
Huge.
Really, three of the biggest that we've had all season. And the first of those we'll start with is New Orleans 23, San Francisco 20. And it's the first of the games that had a major call near the end of it that changed the entire outcome of the game. This, of course, being the late hit on Drew Brees. That was it on his shoulder? Was it on his chest? Was it at his neck level?
They call it a head hit.
Yeah.
To the head, which is forbidden in the NFL now for a quarterback. Anything below the knees or above the shoulders is considered a penalty.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a little controversial. I thought he got him in the shoulder-chest area.
Myself. It was tough because I think ultimately it did hit him in the neck, but part of that was due to the fact that Drew Brees dropped down at the time of the hit. And so, then you've got to question, okay, is the rule there for intent, or is it just cut and dried where the hit lands?
Drew Brees is a
superstar.
Veteran. He probably knew exactly what we'll never know, of course, but he probably knew exactly what he was doing. But I didn't actually agree with the call. Even on the replay, it showed that he kind of hit the chest and shoulder first. And then the shoulder pads kind of end up going into the head, but that was after the initial impact, after the initial hit.
I think my take is I agree with the call in the context of that's the sort of thing they've been calling all year. I mean, I've seen lesser hits called for that sort of thing, yes. And so within the context of that, it wasn't outside of the way they've been calling it all year. And so at that point, for consistency...
Maybe we're making a big deal out of it, seeing it was a San Francisco in New Orleans game. And it's
sure,
a very important game.
Of course.
It was an extremely important game for the 49ers to come out and win.
Yep.
Which they almost practically did come out and win.
Yeah. No, I mean, if it would have been... Miami playing Jacksonville, and it would have happened in the second quarter, nobody would have thought twice about it. But
too much about it. We got something similar coming up in the Patriots game too, I think.
Of course. Other than that, of course, still though, I mean, San Francisco, they looked good for part of the game. They stayed close in a tough, hostile environment. They just weren't good enough, and really that late hit notwithstanding, they didn't look good enough late in the game to put it away. They had several chances where they could have salted it away.
Couldn't put it away.
And
New Orleans playing at home, I thought they would play a little bit better. Drew Brees and Kaepernick didn't have stellar numbers. They had average numbers. And
they didn't.
This was an off Drew Brees day, especially playing in New Orleans. He usually throws up 350 to 400.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, of course, that was a big win for New Orleans. Kept them ahead of Carolina, as we'll see in the race down there, whereas San Francisco is officially, well, not officially, but unofficially.
They're behind the eight ball right
now. They're about to seed that race in the West.
Seattle. It's got to go to Seattle.
It sure looks that way, yeah. Meanwhile, of course... in the Midwest, the big battle in the Rocky Mountain State was Denver 27, Kansas City 17.
Which I'm sure you got up for to watch.
I stayed up. I got up in the middle of the night, watched it. It wasn't brutal. It was a good game. The Chiefs, as I said last week, I think they needed to play flawlessly to win that game, and they didn't. They started out a little nervous.
Why they didn't run Charles more than they did.
Yeah.
Because he was obviously doing quite well in the first half. He was putting out some yards, and for some reason I just didn't play him in the second half.
Yeah.
Whether they got panicked or something like that, but the running game was working good against the Broncos, who have shown weakness against the running game this season. This is a decision from Andy Reid I didn't understand.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, Alex Smith was having a really good game too, and he was finding ways to keep the down marker moving and stuff, and then they run into a couple of drives that got killed by a dumb penalty, and they're not a team that can overcome dumb penalties. Some can, some can't on offense, and they're definitely one of them. One holding call
most teams
will kill them. And, on top of that, there were some key drops. Dwayne Bowe dropped a very catchable one. Donnie Avery. There were quite a few key drops throughout the game. Those two things really kept them from.
The Broncos didn't look like the Broncos. We say Elway, old school.
Manning.
It's hard to get used to say Manning in Denver. It's Manning didn't put up these huge numbers that we've been seeing. They got the win. I thought the game was closer than the score showed.
Yeah.
Especially in the second half, they got lucky with a touchdown in the second half, which put it a little bit away for them. But I thought the Chiefs played quite well to play in Mile High. I mean, it's hard to go into Denver and play at that attitude. And these two teams hate each other. They're notorious. It's like Hatfields and the McCoys.
Yeah. Well, it'll be really interesting. I met another Chiefs fan here in Vienna the other night at the USA-Austria soccer game, and about the only thing she said to me was, "We'll get them in 2 weeks," and knew exactly, of course, what she was talking about.
Got a tough schedule the next couple of weeks, so
yeah,
maybe they needed that win more than the Chiefs did.
They definitely did, and now they've got to play New England, which we'll talk about, and then a return date at Kansas City. So that's all. It's lining up. It's pretty exciting.
Games.
Okay, the last game that we're going to talk about from last week is Carolina 24, New England 20. Another big key race game for, especially for Carolina. New England's sitting
Carolina
pretty,
needed to win more than the Panthers, more than the Patriots did for sure. Patriots are basically, they're like Seattle. They've got the division in the bag unless something drastic happens in the next couple of weeks. I thought Carolina came out firing. The quarterback,
Cam Newton.
Thank you. Cam Newton was on fire. We couldn't contain him. He got a couple third down conversions on a run. But the defense did pick up on the second half, and Brady did start connecting in the second half. Ridley fumble, typical. Once again, he's got a fumble for the Patriots and ruin it on a nice drive. There was a very controversial call at the end of the game. Gronk in the end zone. We were talking about that prior to the shooting here this morning. Which I think if that call was done in Foxborough, it probably went in favor of the Patriots.
Yeah, I think that's likely so. My take on that call, as well as the San Francisco one, was that it really was a borderline call. It could have gone either way. And of course, those are the kind of calls that generate controversy. At some point, you have to decide: do we call it or not? And then the referees got together and said no, and
Well, you can't take anything away from the Panthers. They played a tough defense, probably second to Seattle probably right now in the league.
Yeah, they're right up there.
They got to Brady 2 or 3 times, and Brady was hurt all day long. It was a good win for the Panthers. I thought it was a good win, but the Patriots shouldn't go around with home with the tail between their legs. They played a tough game in a tough environment against one of the strongest defense, and almost did the Brady miracle at the end.
They just need to go home and man up and get ready to beat the Broncos next week, I think.
Yes, I'd like that.
That's what I would like, exactly. Okay.
So theoretically, the Broncos are ahead of you in the league because of the home win.
Yes, they have the head-to-head win over us, but with the return date at Arrowhead. So, Kansas City really has to win that game. If not, then they would get a leg up plus the tiebreaker. Okay. When we come back, we will talk about some of the upcoming games for next weekend, including San Francisco at Washington, Jets at Baltimore, all sorts of exciting stuff. So we'll see you in a minute. We are back. We're ready to talk about the upcoming games for this weekend, and we'll start off with the Sunday afternoon games. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Old rivals.
Yes, old divisional rivals. Both are theoretically still in it for that division. This is a game I got to see that Cleveland has got to win. They just come off a tough loss against the Bengals last week in Cincinnati, I believe. Yes, and now they're playing at home. Pittsburgh showed a little life in the last couple of weeks, but I see that Cleveland probably winning this one at home. It's going to be a tough game. It depends which Pittsburgh Steelers team and which Ben Roethlisberger shows up for the game this week. But they'll be playing in a dog pound. It's going to be loud, and I think Cleveland's going to have to win this one.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I like to pick Pittsburgh.
Them all year long.
I've been picking them all year, and they come around every now and then here recently.
Every
but
4 weeks.
yeah, They are, though. They're starting to come around. Their defense is playing much better. They've got some semblance of a running game. Big Ben's playing better, really, in all facets. They're at least, a nice, acceptable, mediocre NFL team now instead of a doormat, as they were earlier in the season, losing the Vikings. So, it's time for Pittsburgh to rise up and make some noise in the division. We'll see how it goes.
We'll have to make a lot of noise if they're playing in the dog park, because it's a pretty loud place. The Cleveland fans are vicious.
True enough. After that, Tampa Bay at Detroit. Detroit suffering a tough loss last weekend, kind of a surprise loss, but...
Detroit's still in the driver's seat in the division.
Yeah.
With the injury, in Green Bay's injury, and the Bears playing off and on. It's still Detroit's division to lose. I think Detroit will walk away with an easy victory at home.
I think if they don't walk away with an easy victory at home, it signals serious problems for the Lions.
Yeah.
I think they should win this one. They should win it handily, and
retain. Receiving core is having a very good year. They're putting up huge numbers this year.
They've got an amazing passing attack. When Reggie Bush is healthy, they've got a really solid ground game. They've got a tough front line there on the defense. A little suspect in the secondary, I think, but overall a very solid team. It's just a matter of doing it week in and week out, and they tend to be inconsistent.
And they're playing a Tampa Bay team that can come out and surprise you.
Apparently so. I guess we can ask Seattle how that happens. They've been coming on the last few weeks at least. They haven't given up on the season like everybody thought they would.
Yeah, on paper at the beginning of the season they were supposed to be much better than they are now, and maybe the people on the team learned to read.
Maybe
that's what it says.
And hey, a long time ago, these guys used to be division rivals. I mean, it really wasn't all that long ago, I guess. So there's some history there, but ultimately, if Detroit doesn't win this, it's a signal of bigger problems in Detroit than it is anything else, to my mind.
You got Tampa Bay?
I don't know. I got Detroit winning.
I got Detroit winning.
I'll be curious to see if they win it handily or if they scrape by, I guess.
Well, a win is a win for Detroit right now.
True. Speaking of, we've got Minnesota at Green Bay.
Ooh, it has to be Green Bay. I mean, even Green Bay can stick a high school quarterback in there. I think they can win against the Vikings right now. Although the Vikings have, once again, sort of like Tampa Bay, they've shown a little bit of life in the last couple of weeks. They seem to have a quarterback that's is healthier more than 2 weeks at a time. But it is in Green Bay, and we are playing without Aaron Rodgers at the helm, but they still have the tools there to get the job done, and I think it's a defensive struggle. I don't think it'll be a high scoring game, that's for sure.
I found it interesting to read and a little note this week that, of course, this year Green Bay has started now 3 different quarterbacks in 1 year, and that's equal to the number of quarterbacks that they started in the previous, I think it was 17 seasons combined.
Yeah, they had.
With Favre, Rodgers, and Matt Flynn was the third one, actually, for one game. So,
amazing statistic, because Favre, I don't think he set out again.
Not
quarterback.
Not since 94 or 95.
Yeah,
it was a crazy streak, and Rodgers was pretty consistent as well until recently. So, I'll give it to Green Bay because they're home, but boy, it's not going to surprise me however this game goes.
No.
Because they're a completely different team without Rodgers at the helm. Of course, they've lost so many of their receivers that it's hard for somebody else to step in and just make it happen the way Matt Flynn did a few years ago. It is what it is. It's probably going to be an ugly game, a lot of ground game. Neither defense is impressed this year, so if it's a defensive struggle, it's probably more a fact that the offense isn't doing anything. So, Green Bay in a squeaker at home, and with a lot of Adrian Peterson on the other side of the ball. San Diego at Kansas City, a game that the Chiefs really need to win, even though they've got 9 wins on the season. Coming in between the 2 Denver games, they can't afford to let one drop at home in the divisional game.
They've got to win this game because they're facing the Broncos again the week after that at home in Arrowhead. They're playing in Arrowhead this week.
Yep.
San Diego, I don't know if they're in it anymore or.
No, they've really fallen off the pace. They were surprise team early on, and
But they could play the spoiler.
but they can play the spoiler, and as Phillip Rivers goes, so go the Chargers. And then when he's having a good game and he's on, which he's shown that he's still capable of,
Yes.
then they can put up points with almost anybody. They've got a solid ground game, a surprising sneaky ground game instead of a straightforward attack anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They got Danny Woodhead, former Patriot, likes to get in there and play the Darren Sproles role and catch balls out of the backfield. And yeah, they're a dangerous club, especially in a divisional game like that.
Where anything goes.
I think Kansas City will bounce back and win it at home. I'm a little worried about, even though this is a divisional game, that it is kind of a bit of a trap game where you're thinking ahead already to next week with the Broncos. And
Yeah, I think they need to stay focused on this Sunday. And
yeah, I mean, I'm counting on Andy Reid to keep them focused and keep their heads in this game. And if they do that, they should be able to bounce back and pick up a solid home
Yeah,
victory.
the Chiefs don't have a very light schedule the next few weeks.
No, the whole rest of the season is, if not tough by the record of the opponent, it's either an opponent like the Colts or the Broncos or somebody that's good, or it's a divisional rival, where it's always going to be tough. That's
Yeah,
pretty
we'll
much what they've got coming out. So
I see the Chiefs walking away with a comfortable win.
I hope so. We'll see. Chicago at St. Louis. Chicago stepping it up last weekend, making the race exciting again, taking advantage of Detroit's misstep.
I don't see St. Louis pulling this one off. I think Chicago needs to win this game, as you just mentioned. Because if Detroit wins, Chicago's in a must-win situation. And yeah, Chicago's looked pretty tight in the last couple of weeks. I mean, the deep on both sides of the ball. I see Chicago winning this one easily.
Yeah, St. Louis
Jeff
is...
Fisher defense, maybe. I don't know. But
Well, they're a dangerous team because they've got speed, they're young, and that combination can
they're
lead
cocky.
to
They're cocky. They have nothing really to lose.
it can lead to a barrage of points when you least expect it. Special teams, run backs, defensive scores, things like that just turn the whole momentum of the game is really what he's brought to St. Louis this year. And no, they're not going to make the playoffs. No, they're not going to really even threaten to do so. But on any given Sunday, they are one of the teams that I would,
contender.
and I wouldn't want to fall asleep against them. So I think what the heck? I'm going to go with the upset here. Chicago's inconsistent. They're an every other week kind of team.
Okay.
They won last week. St. Louis
we'll
pulls off the upset this weekend at home. Carolina at Miami. The Panthers, the hottest team in the NFL at this point, really.
Yeah,
And
they've got to slow down sometime. But I don't know if it's going to be this week against the Dolphins. I'd like to. The Dolphins are being a Patriots in the Patriots division, but they've been out of it the last couple of weeks. I see the Panthers. They're on a roll, like you said right now. Cam Newton. He was hard to contain against the Patriots, who have a pretty decent defense.
yeah,
Yeah, I see Carolina walking away with a decent victory, probably double digits. So I think Carolina wants to go prove something a little bit and let everyone know that we are here as the playoffs start rolling in and get towards the end of the season.
I'm feeling a little bit riverboat gambler sort of
Obviously,
today.
you're picking the Dolphins.
I'm taking the Dolphins at home.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope they do win, but I'm trying to keep it real.
No good reason other than for me. I watch the. I think of the season as a series of games and instead of just an individual game, and this is the kind of game that teams lose. They go out of the division. They've just won an emotional Monday night victory at home. They go out of the division. They go out of the conference. They're playing against a team they should beat. Everyone is suddenly believing in them. Right. That's the perfect time for a team to just slip up and drop a game on the road that they should win. And sure enough, the Dolphins are in it in the fourth quarter. Now, the question is, if the Dolphins are in it in the fourth quarter, can they find a way to pull it out? And I don't have a lot of faith in them doing that. I couldn't tell you how they're going to win it because they sure have no ground game, and their passing game is beyond suspect. But still, something will happen. They'll pull off a low-scoring game. Yeah, completely on a hunch. Dolphins. At home. Book it.
Okay.
Got another
Daring.
yes. Got another game between two teams that are just tough to call. The New York Jets at Baltimore. Both of them still in the playoff picture somehow.
Jets, yeah, really. And the Jets just went into Buffalo and got their asses spanked by the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. I've seen a game in Buffalo, Patriots game years ago in Buffalo. No matter how Buffalo's plays, they're always really, really tough at home.
Sure.
It's one of the loudest stadiums and the most craziest fans in the NFL. Well, which Baltimore team is showing up this week and which Jet team is showing up this week? I'm going to give it a toss-up, and I think I'm probably going to give this one to the Jets because they lost a tough one. They got to come back. They're licking their wounds a little bit. They've got to keep some pace with the Patriots, who lost a game last week, a tough one against Carolina. I see the Jets pulling out a squeaker.
I think I'm going to go with the Jets, too.
Yeah.
And, again, just looking at the season, every other week, they don't lose 2 or 3 in a row. Rex,
They lost. They beat New England at home.
Yeah, Rex finds a way to pull it out. Of course, Baltimore's one of those teams, too. So, really,
New Orleans as well.
You've got 2 teams here that are capable of rising up on any given week and winning a game they're not supposed to. So they'll probably both underachieve, and it'll be like 10-9, with all the scores coming on defense. Maybe a safety wins it. Right?
But in reality, the Jets really need this one much more than the Ravens.
I don't know. I think it's probably about equal. I think they're both at that stage where they're fringe playoff contenders, but another loss or two, and they're out for the season. So it's pretty much a toss-up as to which one needs it more, but yeah, I'm just going to go with the Jets based on
I'm going with the Jets
on Rex finding a way. Jacksonville at Houston.
You can breeze over this one, right?
Yeah,
I give it to Houston just because they're playing at home.
Houston, yeah, they've looked better the last several weeks. They haven't been able to pull out a win, but surely against Jacksonville they can find a way to close it out. Tennessee at Oakland.
Interesting.
Yeah, sort of. If you like train wrecks.
Yes, I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. Although the record doesn't show it, I've been impressed with Oakland football this season. I think the club is starting to turn around, the whole organization, now that the Al Davis is 6 feet under. Now they're finally starting to turn things around a little bit in Oakland. But I see Tennessee pulling out a win here for some reason. They've had some close games the last couple of weeks, and they lost a tough one last week.
Yeah, I may go with Tennessee too.
I think people are starting to figure out Terrell Pryor. I think.
He actually didn't even play this last weekend.
Yeah.
They started. I can't remember the guy's name. They started their.
Yeah, but I read where he's probably going to start this week.
Yeah, well, you're right though. People are starting to figure him out. I don't know that that's long term. It means he has to make adjustments as well. It means what happens with the running quarterbacks. They get in, they run, they surprise people. Teams adjust, then they have to show that they can pass as well, and then they have to find that perfect balance. And so maybe this is a good week for him to find a balance and to make a move. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Tennessee, but it's a flip of a coin. Indianapolis at Arizona. Surprising Arizona team. They're still in it too. They're still right in that playoff picture.
I can't figure out luck this year. I can't figure out the entire Colts team this year. I mean, they go in and they put up dogfights with some of the best in the NFL, and then some mediocre team comes in and just spanks them silly like some little girl in a clique.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. I'm going to go out on the limb and I'm going to say Arizona. For some reason, the heat of the desert, the dryness of the air, or the lack of oxygen, or whatever. I just think Arizona's going to on any given Sunday. I think they will make it interesting for the Colts division, and I think the Colts actually need a win.
Yeah,
they do.
They're
still in the driver's seat, but I see Arizona, like you just said, they're playing good ball the last couple of weeks.
They are, and it's easy to forget them when you're thinking about playoff picture, but. If Carolina slips up, they could sneak in and grab that second wild card spot. They're right in there, or even San Francisco. They're now in a dangerous zone with regards to a team like Arizona sneaking a spot from them there at the end.
Playing in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so it's a big game for Arizona. That said, I'm going to go with Indianapolis. They beat teams that are doing well. They go in and spank team. Now, if Arizona was typical Arizona, maybe they go in and trip up against them. But if a team's doing well, if a team looks dangerous, whatever, they get up and they beat them. So Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Colts. They'll win it, and they'll win it handily. Dallas at the Giants.
We're not agreeing so much this week.
No, not so much. Dallas at the Giants. A game that could see the Giants push themselves back into the playoff hunt.
9-7 season or something.
They could.
We'll finish.
If they win this game, they're sitting at 5-6, and
the Giants'
believe
offensive line has still showed weakness, and Cowboys have a fairly good pass rush. This is almost a flip of a coin. I see the Cowboys need to win this game.
They do. They really do.
Desperately. I mean, Washington's lost, and Philadelphia's came out, won against Washington last week. 2 division rivals playing against each other. Philadelphia also is looking well, but I see that Dallas has got to pull this game off. And as long as we're Romo mistake-free in the fourth quarter, I see Dallas pulling off a very close game. Probably a low-scoring 23-20 game or something along this nature, but...
It's late November, almost December.
Yes.
It's Dallas.
Dallas is to lose.
It's the Giants. I'm going with the Giants. I mean, the Giants win in November and December, except for occasionally, but they've gotten their 6-game streak out of the way this year. They got it out of the way early. They always have a bad streak. They get it out of the way. Now they're going to win out. And Dallas, of course, they won early.
Well, Dallas never plays good late in the season.
Yeah, no, the calendar's flipping over. They're gonna.
Dallas are not that banged up. They just can't seem to close a game.
Nope.
And mistakes have killed them. Penalties have killed them. Romo's interceptions have killed them.
At some point, this becomes a franchise-wide systemic sort of thing, though, and we've seen it so many years. Many years that they've got maybe the most talented team in the division. And at the end of the season, they piss it away to either the Redskins last year or to the Giants or to the Eagles. It doesn't matter. Some other team in that division will find a way to win as long as Romo's the quarterback at Dallas, it seems. This is me talking. Sorry, Tony. But
well, I'm on your side. To me, the most overpaid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. And... miracle of miracles, we actually have one good game on the schedule, one game between good teams playing each other. Denver at New England, Sunday evening. Tickets available for only $199.
The most expensive.
You want to get out there, yeah.
The most expensive. Average ticket is like $50, and you got to pay almost $200 to go to a game at Foxborough.
Part of it's the matchup, though.
Yeah,
it's Peyton Manning at New England.
I see, battle of the 2 best quarterbacks in our generation.
Of the era, definitely.
If not the 2 best. After a tough win in Carolina and then going back and playing in Foxborough, as good as Manning thinks he is, there are still issues on Oakland's defense, and Brady give him a little chance. And Gronk is getting a little better every week, and if Ridley can keep from dropping the ball on a drive, I see Tom Brady and Belichick coming up with the plan to give Denver a loss. It's going to be an absolute air show. No matter who they're playing right now, it's just going to be an air show. I think this over/under might even be up to 70 points or something like this. I don't know, but I see New England winning this one at home. It's going to be a tough game. It's probably going to be a very exciting game to watch. I took the next day off.
We agree on this one. We agree on this one. New England, as big a game as this is going to be for Denver, they've got those divisional games. They just played one last week against Kansas City. They got one next week.
They may be more focusing on next week.
They may be, and it's too big a game to call it a true trap game. But at the same time, to get that up 3 weeks in a row is tough. And going in, we saw them be vulnerable to a Colts team when they went in on a very emotional week for Peyton Manning earlier this season, and I could see the same thing happening this week in New England. A good solid defense. Again, turnovers could be the big issue. If the Patriots put the ball on the ground, if Ridley or whomever puts the ball down a couple times, that could change the entire course of things. But they can hang on to the ball.
And both quarterbacks, old-fashioned pocket-style quarterbacks,
classic,
do show vulnerability when they're pressured, and they do get a little nervous. No matter Manning or Brady, they both they're human beings. And Brady was pressured all last week with Carolina, and it showed in his performance. He didn't have his stellar numbers. And the same thing goes with Manning when he's pressured. I think it's going to come down to who fires on all cylinders early in the game, and you can't play catch up on a Manning, and you can't play catch up on a Brady. So
no, that is a bad proposition.
Which offense can keep the other offense off which defense can? Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Keep the other offense off the field. Because I think once both teams are on the field, there's going to be a score either way, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown.
Okay, our last game of the week that we're going to talk about is a Monday night matchup. Really coming down to almost a must-win for San Francisco as they visit a banged-up Washington squad.
Yeah. Ooh. But playing in Washington.
Playing in Washington.
To me, it's a game. It's hard to call this game. Really, I mean, you asked me a couple of weeks ago. I said San Francisco walks right in there.
Sure.
It's hard to call this game. I mean, Kaepernick is not the guy I bet they still wish they had Alex Smith again now.
They might. At least they'd have the option of.
But RG is also not playing to what he was doing last year at this time. Boy, this is I'm going out on the limb, and I know certain San Francisco fans out there are going to help me, but I think Washington squeezes a victory out here at home.
They could. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to go with San Francisco. I think they played really well. Yeah, not really well, but they played it close in New Orleans last week.
I didn't think New Orleans played that well.
And Washington has just so down this year in a lot of ways. It's not just the final scores in their games. It's the fact that their defense just kind of lets people run all over them. If San Francisco comes in with that ground game and just pounds them with Gore, then I think they can build up a decent lead and be in command of the game, and they don't need Colin to come and take over late or make a final drive score. I think they'll just get out in front, hold on, and take the game from the mastermind.
Well, mathematically, the Redskins are still in it.
Mathematically, the Jacksonville Jaguars are still in it.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
Just read that this morning. Yeah.
Oh my God.
They could still end up. There's a website
or?
where you can go in and click and put in different permutations and see how the season would play out. They could actually end up as the second seed in the AFC if you play it out right.
Okay.
Stranger
things have happened. I don't know. I see Washington really having to win this one at home, and I don't know. I just want San Francisco to lose, maybe.
Maybe so. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Niners, the safe pick. I've had enough Flyers this week that
we did total opposite picks this week.
Yeah, pretty much. Other than New England, we both think New England's gonna do it.
And you watch. That'll be the one.
That'll be the one we're both wrong on, of course. Okay, well, that about wraps it up for another week of Touchdown. Come back and visit us next week, and we'll have some more exciting football talk from Schwadorf. See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.